So what does it really mean when we call an AI smart? It's a word we throw around all the time, but if you're a business leader, getting what's underneath that term is, well, it's absolutely critical. So in this explainer, we're going to peel back the layers. We're going to go from the incredible things you see AI doing every day, all the way down to the nuts and bolts, the engine that makes it all possible. Let's jump in.
All right, here's the plan. First, we'll see AI out in the wild. Then, we're popping the hood to look at models and parameters. After that, we'll tackle a big question. Is bigger always better? Then, we'll get into AI's biggest blind spot. And finally, we'll wrap up with how you can build a truly smart strategy around it. Okay, first up, AI in the real world. And listen, this isn't some far-off sci-fi concept. This is technology that's already changing the game, from developing new medicines to making sure that package lands on your doorstep.
Let's start with healthcare. Look at a company like Pfizer. They're using AI to analyze just mountains of data. We're talking genomic data, clinical trials, you name it, to find promising new drugs way faster than we ever could before. It is literally speeding up the fight against disease.
Or just think about the last thing you ordered online. Companies like DHL are using AI for, well, pretty much everything. It's optimizing routes, managing warehouses, and predicting demand to get that package to you on time and save a ton of money in the process.
And you knew this one was coming. Amazon. Their AI is the secret sauce behind everything. It's what recommends that book you didn't know you needed, how they manage that massive inventory, and even how prices can change from one minute to the next based on what's happening in the market.
So we've seen what AI can do, which is pretty amazing. But the real question is, how? How does it all work? Now we're going to get into the engine room and talk about the two key ingredients, models and parameters.
So at its heart, an AI model is really just a ridiculously complex mathematical function. Think back to high school math, like the equation for a line. But now, imagine that equation has millions or even billions of parts. Its whole job is to be trained on data so it can get really good at finding patterns and making predictions.
And where do the smarts come from? It's not magic, it's the parameters. The best way to think about them is as millions of tiny little knobs inside the model. During training, the AI is just constantly turning and adjusting these knobs until it gets the right answer.
Now, these knobs mostly come in two flavors, weights and biases. Weights control how much influence each piece of information has. You can think of it as turning one knob way up because that info is super important, and turning another way down. Biases are more like a master control, a baseline that lets the model shift its entire output up or down. It's this combination that gives the model its power.
Okay, so this leads us to a really important question, especially if you're thinking about investing in this stuff. If parameters are the knobs that make an AI smart, shouldn't we just build models with as many knobs as possible? Well, let's dig into that puzzle.
So let me just put it out there. Does having more parameters automatically make an AI smarter or more effective? It kind of feels like it should, right? But the answer is a little more complicated than you might think.
The short answer is not necessarily. See, when a model has too many parameters, it can fall into a trap we call overfitting. This is where it stops learning the general rules and instead just memorizes the answers from its training data. It's like a student who crams for a test and can ace it, but has no idea how to apply that knowledge to a new problem the next day. It all comes down to a trade-off, really. On one hand, a huge parameter count lets a model learn sub or complex subtle patterns, but that power comes at a cost. It's expensive to run, and it's got a much higher risk of that overfitting problem. A smaller model is more efficient and safer, but it might miss out on those really complex insights. And that brings us to what might be the single most important idea in this entire explainer. This is the fundamental limit on how most AI actually thinks. We have to talk about the huge difference between correlation and causation.
If you ever talk to a data scientist, you'll hear them say this over and over again. Correlation does not imply causation. What that means is, just because two things happen at the same time, it doesn't mean one causes the other. And here's the thing, AI is a genius at finding correlations. But understanding the why, that's a whole different story.
You've probably heard this classic example. The data is clear. When ice cream sales go up, so do the number of shark attacks. They are perfectly correlated. But does eating a scoop of chocolate fudge cause a shark attack? No, of course not. There's a hidden factor, hot weather, that causes us to buy more ice cream and go swimming in the ocean more often. Now here's where it gets dangerous. As data expert George Lindley says, in business we make this mistake all the time. We see a pattern, a correlation, and we immediately jump to action, assuming we know what's causing it. We see a dip in sales, and we immediately change the marketing, thinking one caused the other. That is a massive and often costly leap of faith.
And that is the absolute bottom line when it comes to AI today. It is an incredible pattern matching machine. It will find connections in your data you never dreamed of, but it does not have a common sense understanding of the world. It finds the what, but it almost never understands the why.
So if we know AI has this huge blind spot, how do we use it effectively? How do we get all that power without falling into these traps? That brings us to our final section, building a smarter strategy.
And it really boils down to 3 simple, non-negotiable rules. First, you have to have human oversight. Second, you have to be obsessed with data quality. And third, you need to have crystal clear goals before you even start.
Let's take that first one, human oversight. Look, AI is an amazing tool, a collaborator, but it's not a replacement for your experienced managers. It doesn't get company culture, it doesn't get office politics, it doesn't get nuance. You always need a human expert in the loop to ask, does this actually make sense for us?
Number 2, data quality. I really can't say this enough. Your AI is only as good as the data you give it. If you feed it messy, biased, or just plain wrong data, you're going to get bad insights back. It's the old saying, garbage in, garbage out. It's that simple.
And finally, have clear objectives. Using AI just to use AI is a recipe for a very, very expensive experiment that goes nowhere. Before you spend a dime, you need to know exactly what problem you're trying to solve and what success will actually look like. So I'll just leave you with this final thought. Your AI is brilliant at finding patterns in everything that's already happened, but its real value isn't about looking backward, it's about how you use those patterns to make better decisions for the future. The real challenge for you as a leader isn't just to use the tool, but to be the one asking it the right questions.